Imagine yourself in the midst of a storm. The wind roars, the rain falls relentlessly, and you struggle to stay on your feet as the force of nature tests every fiber of your being. Life often resembles this storm, and each of us is put to the test. However, as Stoics, we learn that we shouldn't fight against the wind, but instead adjust our sails to navigate through the tempest. What wears us down the most isn't the external adversities, but how we handle them. Rather than allowing ourselves to be swept away by the current of life, we can learn to maintain serenity and focus on what truly matters. Negative people. The philosopher Epictetus reminds us that it's not the external events that disturb us, but how we interpret them. Negative people, those who seem to carry storm clouds with them, are a constant test for our philosophy. They may seem overwhelming with their incessant complaints and pessimistic view of the world, but remember, true strength lies not in changing others, but in remaining steadfast in their presence. Negative people are often prisoners of their own thoughts. They can't see beyond their own difficulties and end up spreading their negativity to everyone around them. But we, as Stoics, don't need to absorb this negativity. We should build mental barriers, recognizing that another person's mood and attitude have no power over us unless we allow them to. We should view these interactions as opportunities to practice indifference to external events. Instead of reacting, we can choose calmness. Instead of being sucked into the abyss of their negativity, we can remain firm, like a rock in the midst of a storm. Perfectionism. What is beyond our control is irrelevant to our tranquility, said Marcus Aurelius, and perfectionism is one of the greatest obstacles we place on ourselves. It is the attempt to control the uncontrollable, to seek an unattainable perfection that exists only in our minds. Like a mirror reflecting a distorted image, perfectionism deceives us, making us believe that we are never good enough, that there is always something to be corrected, something that could have been done differently. However, life, as the Stoics teach us, is not about seeking perfection, but about doing our best with what we have. Perfectionism is not a high standard. It is a trap. It traps us in an endless cycle of dissatisfaction, preventing us from appreciating our achievements and moving forward. We must learn to accept that good enough is often the best we can offer, and that is enough. We should focus on the process, on the genuine effort we put into our actions, not the results. Because in the end, what matters is not that everything is perfect, but that we did our best within the circumstances we were given. Monotony. Accept whatever comes your way and adapt to external circumstances. Your happiness lies in how you respond to these events, not in what happens, said Marcus Aurelius. Monotony is often seen as a silent enemy, a force that drains the joy out of life, turning each day into a repetition of the previous one. However, monotony is largely a matter of perspective. Daily life, with its routines and repetition, may seem tedious, but it is also an opportunity to cultivate virtue. Every action, no matter how simple, is a chance to exercise patience, discipline, and resilience. Monotony gives us the chance to refine our practices, to improve in the small things upon which true greatness is built. If we allow monotony to affect us, it's because we're looking outside of ourselves for something that isn't there. True vitality doesn't lie in constantly changing external circumstances, but in finding purpose and meaning in each action, no matter how repetitive it may seem. Disorder. External order is a reflection of internal order, said Seneca. The disorder around us, whether physical or mental, reflects a tumultuous state of mind. The pile of disorganized papers, the objects scattered around the house, all these are signs of a mind that is allowing itself to be disorganized. As Stoics, we seek clarity and simplicity, both in the external world and within ourselves. Organizing our space is organizing our thoughts. When we put everything in its place, when we eliminate the unnecessary, we create space for what really matters. This practice is not just physical, but also mental. We must learn to let go, not just of objects, but also of thoughts and worries that burden us. Simplifying is an act of liberation. We don't need more, but less. Fewer distractions, fewer complications, less disorder. By simplifying our lives, we regain clarity and peace of mind. Comparing yourself to others. Don't look at what others have, but at who you are, reminds us Epictetus. Comparing yourself to others is a poison that slowly corrodes our inner peace. When we compare, we place our happiness in the hands of something we don't control, the successes and failures of others. Each person's life is unique, shaped by different circumstances, choices, and destinies. We cannot measure our worth or success with someone else's ruler. The Stoics teach us to focus on our own progress, on becoming the best version of ourselves, regardless of what others are doing. Each of us follows a different path, with its own challenges and rewards. Comparison is a distraction that diverts us from the true purpose, the pursuit of virtue and self-knowledge. We must remember that the success of others does not diminish ours, just as their failures do not increase our worth. The only valid comparison is between who we are today and who we were yesterday. Excessive worry. Worry doesn't remove the pain of tomorrow, but it does take away today's strength, said Seneca. Worry is a thief of energy, pulling us away from the present and trapping us in an uncertain future. It is often a way of trying to control the uncontrollable, of anticipating problems that may never happen. But the Stoics teach us that we should focus on the present, on what is within our control. Worry is actually a waste of time and energy. It paralyzes us, preventing us from taking action. Instead of worrying about what might happen, we should focus on what we can do now. We must learn to distinguish between what is within our power and what is not. And for those things we cannot control, we must accept them with serenity. As Stoics, we seek tranquility, and this can only be found when we abandon worry about the future and focus on the present, on what really matters. Lack of sleep. Sleep is a remedy for the body and soul, reminds us Seneca. Sleep is essential for our well-being, both physical and mental. However, in our relentless pursuit of productivity, we often sacrifice sleep, believing that we can function with less than necessary. But the price we pay is high. Lack of sleep makes us less efficient, more irritable, and less capable of dealing with stress. As Stoics, we recognize the importance of balance. Sleep is a basic need and should not be neglected. We must learn to value rest, to give our body and mind the time they need to recover. Sleep is not a waste of time but an essential part of our lives. Without it, we cannot function fully. We must create a sleep routine, protect this sacred time, and recognize that to be strong and resilient, we must also be able to rest. Toxic relationships. Avoid the company of those who corrupt your character, said Marcus Aurelius. Toxic relationships are like a poison that slowly poisons our soul. They drain our energy, leave us emotionally exhausted, and often make us doubt ourselves. As Stoics, we recognize the importance of surrounding ourselves with people who uplift us, who inspire us to be better. We cannot control the actions of others, but we can control our response to them. We must set clear boundaries, protect our peace of mind, and if necessary, distance ourselves from those who do not contribute to our well-being. True freedom lies in choosing with whom to share our energy, our time, our life. We should value our relationships, but also recognize when it is time to move on. Life is too short to be wasted on unnecessary drama and conflicts. Self-criticism. Those who live to please others do not live for themselves, warns us Epictetus. Self-criticism can be a useful tool, but when excessive, it becomes a burden that we carry, preventing us from moving forward. We are often our own worst critics, demanding from ourselves an unattainable perfection, punishing ourselves for mistakes that often exist only in our minds. As Stoics, we seek self-acceptance and self-compassion. We recognize that we are human, subject to errors and imperfections. Instead of punishing ourselves, we should learn from our mistakes, reflect on them, and move on. Self-criticism should be tempered by reason and understanding. We should not allow ourselves to be crushed by the weight of our own expectations, but rather strive to improve without losing sight that perfection is an illusion. We should treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we offer to others. Overload of responsibilities. Do not carry more than you can bear, warns us Seneca. Overload of responsibilities is one of the most common causes of stress and exhaustion. Often, we take on more than we can handle, whether out of obligation or a desire to please or prove ourselves to others. But the truth is that by trying to do everything, we end up doing nothing well. As Stoics, we must learn to recognize our limits, to say no when necessary, and to delegate when possible. Wisdom lies in knowing when to stop, when to ask for help, when to rest. We are not machines, and life is not a race. We must learn to manage our time and energy wisely, focusing on what is truly important and letting go of what is secondary. Only then can we live fully without being consumed by external demands, not accepting the reality of things. Accept what cannot be changed, said Marcus Aurelius. One of the greatest sources of suffering is resistance to reality. When we refuse to accept things as they are, when we fight against what cannot be changed, we are only causing pain to ourselves. Reality is relentless, and resisting it is futile. The Stoics teach us to accept reality with serenity. This does not mean resignation, but rather understanding that there are things beyond our control and that fighting against them is a waste of energy. We must learn to distinguish between what we can change and what we cannot, and focus our efforts on what is within our reach. Accepting reality is not a weakness, but a strength. It is the wisdom of knowing where to put our energy and where to let go, not dedicating time to yourself. The soul needs time to rest, to reflect, to renew itself, teaches us Seneca. In a world that never stops, that demands more and more from us, it's easy to forget to take care of ourselves. We get lost in external demands, in commitments, in tasks, and forget that we also need time for ourselves. Dedicating time to yourself is not a luxury, but a necessity. It is in this time that we can reflect, grow, renew our strength. As Stoics, we recognize the importance of balance. We cannot give what we do not have. If we do not take care of ourselves, if we do not give our soul the time it needs, we will end up exhausted, unable to fulfill our obligations or live fully. We must learn to protect this time, to value rest, introspection, and silence. Only then can we live according to virtue, with clarity and purpose. Conclusion. Life is full of challenges, of storms that test us at every step. But as Stoics, we learn that it is not the strength of the wind that determines our destiny, but how we adjust our sails. Instead of fighting against the uncontrollable, we focus on what we can change: our attitude, our actions, our response to life's events. It is in this serenity, in this wise acceptance of reality, that we find our true strength. Because, in the end, it is not the circumstances that define who we are, but how we choose to face them. Thank you for joining us on this Stoic journey. Remember always, the power to shape our happiness lies in our own hands, and through the constant practice of virtue and understanding of the things within our control, we can find peace and fulfillment. Keep exploring the depths of Stoicism in your daily life. Before you go, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with others who might benefit from Stoic wisdom. Until next time, may Stoic wisdom light your way.